So you actually believe that the Bible's outdated and that in order to become relevant, the church needs to ditch the Bible? Seriously? Well, then I challenge you. I dare you to watch these next 2 episodes because I'll explain to you why the Bible isn't outdated. And in fact, it's just as relevant as the day it was first written. We truly live in exciting times. Technology is advancing at a breathtaking rate. This iPhone 4, only several years ago, was considered cutting-edge technology. People, when it was first introduced to the market, literally lined up for hours. Some even camped out overnight just to be the first to buy one. Now, to these same people, this is considered old technology and simply not worth their time. In the world of technology, basically anything in the past is outdated by whatever is in the present, and whatever is in the present will be outdated by whatever comes in the future. Now, while this may be a truism within the world of technology, is it in other areas of life? For example, can the past teach us anything about how to live in the present? And what about the Bible? Could this ancient book, whose last entry was penned almost 2,000 years ago, have any possible relevance for us in the 21st century? Unfortunately, for many people, including many in the church, the Bible is considered outdated, and there's this expectation of the church to abandon its beliefs and adopt those of the surrounding culture. Now, I'd be more than willing to concede that the Bible was outdated if it could clearly be shown that the nature of either of the 2 main actors presented in the biblical drama had somehow changed. The 2 main actors whom the Bible talks far more about than anything else. These 2 main actors are God and humankind. And so what the issue really boils down to is whether or not God's nature or human nature has changed in any way since the Bible was written. And in this episode, we'll look at what the Bible has to say about God's unchanging nature. Now, the Bible claims to be God's revelation to us, the infinite God's attempt to dumb down any knowledge about himself into sound bites that we mortals can somehow even begin to grasp. For example, the Bible describes God as being eternal, with the implications being, of course, that though a couple thousand years might seem like a long time to us, to an eternal being, they're but a blink of an eye. So how probable would it be then for an eternal being to only until recently realize that there's something about himself that needed to be changed? One would think that if God has existed since all eternity past, that if he ever had any issues, he would have resolved them a long time before now. He's also described in the Bible as being all-knowing and ever-present. In other words, there's nothing that goes on that God doesn't know about. There's nothing that goes on in this universe and beyond that God doesn't see. There's nothing that has ever happened or ever will happen that will ever cause God to go, gee, I didn't see that one coming. So if these descriptions about God are true, then how could an all-knowing being not know that there was something about himself that needed to be changed? God is also described by the Bible as being unchanging, that he's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So if God is unchanging, and the Bible was inspired by God to give us an accurate description of who he is, then what the Bible says about God is also unchanging. That what the Bible says about God doesn't depend upon time or who we think God should be or what he should say or what he should do. And so therefore the Bible doesn't need to be rewritten or edited just because a news pundit, a social critic, a Hollywood actor, or even the mighty Oprah herself thinks it should be. And finally, one undeniable and uncomfortable aspect about this unchanging God of the Bible is his concern with human behavior. He has a clear expectation of us to live our lives a certain way, that there's a definite right way to live and a definite wrong way to live. And the Bible makes it very clear that this is also unchanging, no matter the time nor culture. And unfortunately, when you look at history, we haven't been very good at meeting that expectation. Now, you might well be thinking that what I've presented so far is really nothing but circular reasoning, that my claims about God are based upon the Bible, but how do we even know that what the Bible says about God is true? Well, fair enough, but I still think that even when we look outside the Bible, when we look at the natural world around us, we can still arrive at the same conclusions. For example, when you look at the natural world around us, whether it's on the cosmological scale or the subatomic level, it's pretty self-evident, at least to me, that the mastermind behind it all has to be extremely powerful and extremely intelligent. And what's the likelihood that if this intelligent being had any issues, he would have only discovered them in the past 2,000 years? Furthermore, if the universe is as old as cosmologists say it is, what, some 13.8 billion years? And if you were to compress that period of time into 1 year, the implications would be that the last 2,000 years, since the Bible was last written to the present day, would only be several seconds. Several seconds! Now, what's the probability that only in these last few seconds, God has changed his mind?
Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe.
Keep searching.